And a very good morning to my West Coast partners. Just want to say howdy doody. We are having a conversation today. We're changing the Office 365 conversation in its entirety. We are starting over, starting from scratch, starting from a foundational conversation with the IT leaders, not just talking about Office 365, but about what's possible with Office 365. And with us today, I'm so very excited to introduce Duncan McDonald. He's the mad scientist behind our Office 365 offering. Duncan, how are you, sir?
I am doing great, Jason. Thank you for having me. I've never been referred to as the mad scientist, but I'm certainly open to that. Thank you for that intro. It's certainly great to be referred to in that light.
Oh, very good. So glad to have you. So we're going to get into this just real quick. Wanted to touch base on a couple of things. One, the meeting is being recorded. It'll be rebroadcasted on YouTube and all of your other favorite social media outlets. I know I plan on putting it on LinkedIn myself. For anybody who's never met me in person, my name is Jason Roberts. I'm a partner experience manager covering the mighty Midwest here for RapidScale, and Duncan, our director of product development. So formal titles out the window. Duncan, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you come from? How do you do? What do you do? What's going on?
Okay, great. Thanks, Jason. So Duncan McDonald, I am the Director of Product Development for RapidScale. So I am responsible for the product strategy at RapidScale. Office 365 is just one of the products under my umbrella. I've actually been immersed in Office 365 for 5+ years, and this actually is my second go around at productizing Office 365. The conversation we're going to have today, I'm extremely excited about because we've really bundled in a lot of value, and we're going to talk to some of the challenges, some of the pain points, and really articulate to you guys the value around how you can really sell and really be impactful in that messaging. So with that, let's get into it.
Very great, awesome. Well, let's start way back. Maybe not the very beginning, but come up a touch. When you were creating RapidScale's offering around Office 365, let me ask you, what was front and center for you when it came to the priorities and development? What did you want RapidScale to bring to the table that nobody else can or will?
Excellent first question. And I think when you look at a solution like Office 365, it's no different than any solution out there. It is a journey. There is a product life cycle that we have to consider. And there's three things that we have to look at in the life cycle of a product. The first is we have to create a product that has intrinsic value built into it. The second, we need to create a solution that is very simple for the salespeople to understand, but also simple through the client lens. We need a product that is really, really easy for the client to relate to. If the customers don't understand it, and also likewise, if our partners and our sellers don't understand it, it's a non-starter from that perspective. The last tenet, and this is a tenet that's really true to the core values of RapidScale, is high client experience. We want a solution that once we sell it, we want to continue that story of high impact to the client through the partner experience.
That's great. Yeah, I'm with you. So when I talk to customers about their experience with Office 365, there's excitement about the possibilities, but there's also some challenges that come up. And I think it's one of those situations where it's not a light switch. So could you talk to us a little bit about, the quote unquote migration story? What needs to be considered when you're taking data from A to B within Office 365?
Yeah, certainly. So I think migration is potentially one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest value adds that somebody can bundle into Office 365. It's certainly one of the biggest education points that we need to articulate across to our partners with the managed Office 365 story. To that point, simplicity obviously comes into that storyline. When I re-engineered the Office 365 story, I wanted obviously to be competitive in that storyline. I wanted to offer something to our clients that was a free migration. But then on the flip side, we've got more complex customers that don't necessarily want an automated migration that is free. We've got customers on the other side of the equation that want their hands held. They want a more high-touch experience. They want a managed migration, and they're willing to pay for that experience. So I think when you look at engineering a solution like this, you've got to look at the broad portfolio of customers. You've also got to look at the lens of your competition, see what they're offering so you can be competitive. So, I don't want to go through the whole gambit of what our migration is. Suffice to say that it is simple. It does offer agility. It does offer choice to the customer. And those are the tenets that we want to hold true to when extending something like migration to our clients.
Gotcha. So that's, it's interesting because, I think from a basic level, from like a skin deep level, you think of migration and you think it's a self-encompassing idea. Migration is migration, but really underneath the surface, that's not really the case. And from your point of view, what needs to be front of mind for a migration, for example, with Active Directory or something that's not an atypical migration? What should we be thinking about?
Well, I think that's a prime example of where we as a customer it's the fine line between not being too agile, where we're saying yes to everything, but having enough agility into our packaging that we service enough scenarios, and we've put them into finite packaged boxes, which I believe we've done a fantastic job of. So I think agility and good packaging of our solutions is what we've achieved, by the way, to the point where we are performing a free and a cutover migration, a managed migration, and yes, we also provide a migration option where you can have Active Directory layered onto any of those type migrations, and we also do hybrid migrations as well. Those are the core migration types that any customer wants. We just want to be able to package it up and layer those on as additional options where needed. So agility, I think, is the biggest core function, and we want to also get away from the complexity of migration and also articulate to the client that we've done thousands of migrations, and the concern the client should have is that they're in good hands with us doing the migration, and we will take care of you during the migration journey. Don't worry about the tools we're using. Worry more about the fact that we will get you from A to B.
That's fantastic, and I love that. I love that idea and that term that you use about agility and about choice and flexibility. And I think in today's market, these are three essential things that our partners and our partners' end users are going to have. No one likes to be shoved into a situation, nor does a cookie-cutter option really ever suffice for today's complex environment. So I love that you kept that in mind. So let's transition a touch, right? So we've covered migration, and again, we can always go back and answer more questions on this. But one of the things I always love to bring up, and I love the story of, is post-migration. Once a customer's steady state with us, what's important about their experience that we should highlight once they're completely on board?
Yeah, so I think this is a fantastic question, and one of the things that I think is most neglected in not just Office 365 but many managed services out there. I think many of the people on the call listening in will appreciate this from a managed service perspective. If they look at the lens of many competitors out there, you will see that they're a dime a dozen. There are many providers out there who provide a managed service with support and migration. It is indeed the playbook of managed service providers. They provide a license, support, and migration, and that is it. now, if we take that a stage further, that doesn't address all of the core challenges that clients see in 2019, 2020, and beyond. The challenges that clients see with software, if we take a step back, go way deeper than that. The challenges that clients see are with training, with adoption, with security. So we have to take our learnings and our thought and our conversations as we sell and as we solution with clients a stage deeper. And from a product manager's perspective, I need to take that a stage deeper. So from my perspective, I have bundled in a lot of value that I believe our clients can use to enrich their experience with our software. The first one is adoption. Adoption is one of the biggest challenges we see in Office 365. Office 365, a joke was made about it a couple of years ago that Office 365 was email in the cloud. Why was that joke made? Because Office 365 is email, it's SharePoint, it's OneDrive, it's Yammer, it's Delve. What do people end up using? Email. So you know, I make that joke, but that joke wasn't mine. I didn't coin it. A lot of people have said that. Why is that joke made? Because adoption is a core challenge. Well, we've overcome that. We overcome that by bundling in one of the big tenets that we bundled in, which is an adoption suite, which helps people understand and their users understand that once they've purchased this great productivity suite, that they can enrich it further by aligning their corporate strategy with Office 365 and say, mobility is a core tenet of ours. Security is a core tenet of ours. Let's align that with our individuals in our organization. Let's get them training on OneDrive, on a document management strategy. Let's get them training on Teams to understand how to collaborate more strongly. So this is something that we felt very strongly about to bundle this in as part of our core solution. So I hope that sort of, and that's, by the way, is just one of our core tenets that we've bundled in so that we can strengthen our portfolio, differentiated apart from many, many of the providers out there who just don't do this.
You know, it's funny. You touched on it, and I think it brings up an important point. Some of the challenges I've seen over the years, especially, and I think you nailed it, right? It used to be email, on-prem. Now it's email in the cloud, but it's so much more than that. And I think that's where some of our end customers run into trouble, is that it is so much more than that. It's so much more than that. And what ends up happening is, like you said, it's email, and then they have access to this other product set, and it's one of two things. Either they're not using it because they don't know how, or worst case scenario, they're double paying for a similar solution or an inferior solution outside of the Office product set that can basically be, you can streamline the process and get rid of it altogether. So how are we tackling issues around end user adoption? Not just the idea that we offer more products to them, but how are we tackling the situation of actually getting end users proficient with the new technology that we're offering?
That's a fantastic question. So we have partnered with a bleeding edge company called Nulia, and that company Nulia has an ACM platform, that's adoption and change management platform, and we actually bundle that platform in. We bundle in the starter package, and that starter package has 3 or 4 packages, I believe, at the offset, and 2 of them can be aligned with a corporation strategy, and they can align those packages with their employees to say, listen, we want you to learn Office 365 Essentials, we want you to learn document management, we want you to learn security or Teams, whatever the strategy their corporation is, and they want them to adopt that strategy in line with Office 365, they can align it. And by the way, they can turn off an outcome. These are called outcomes in their package, by the way, and they can turn them off, and then they can re-enable another one. The beauty of this is that with this solution, what we're seeing in the beta, and this actually goes live in a week's time, in time for Microsoft Inspire, which is actually next week. The beauty of this is that they're seeing that adoption is actually increasing. And this isn't like a traditional sort of training package where you just train, you watch some videos, and it just trains. What this solution actually does is its success is measured from the APIs in Office 365 by measured usage. So it actually measures based on the proficiency and the usage of people actually using the tools. So if OneDrive is your outcome, it actually measures based on the users actually adopting and utilizing OneDrive, for example.
I chuckle as you say that, and here's why. I was having a conversation with some of my colleagues the other day. We subscribe to this, right? We drink our own Kool-Aid, we eat our own pudding. I use Nulia, and I use the training on it, and I think it's incredible. But one of the things I thought was so funny, though, was my proficiency scores weren't increasing because I took the training. And I thought I had done something wrong, and then I quickly realized I haven't implemented what I was training on yet. And so you're absolutely right. It's not about, hey, click this, watch this 5-minute video. Until you're actually putting this to work, you're standing at a getting ready state. But once I quickly figured that out, I realized that, okay, it's not I don't need a dunce cap. I just it's part of the process we're implementing. But it's a fantastic product. I've never seen anything like it. So, I think if I'm hearing you right, the reoccurring theme that keeps coming up here is, in my opinion, is partnership within the solution. This is not a transaction. This is not a wham bam, thank you ma'am, one and done sort of thing. And the reason I bring that up, we onboard a new client, we help them with migration, we help them with end user adoption, but with anything involving technology and human beings, there's at some point, you hit bumps in the road. It's just part of life, right? And one of the things I would love for you to bring out and really just highlight for us, a big differentiator for me has always been the level of support that comes with all RapidScale offerings, and Microsoft is no different. But I think especially in the Microsoft space, it's just such a differentiator. Could you muse on that for a moment for us? Could we just touch on that, some of the things that make us very, very different in the support space within the Microsoft offering?
Yeah. I think this, you mentioned, drinking the Kool-Aid, and one of the things I'll point out about support is, and this is something I'll point out to people who sell that's really important. I've been in the 365 space for 5+ years. I've been in the managed service provider space for over 10 years, and support is really, really interesting. You've got providers out there who say, yes, we provide support. Yes, it's incredible, our support. But one of the things I'll point out about RapidScale support is we stand behind our support. Yes, our support is 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 4 hours, 8 hours. That's high. That's urgent, high, medium, low as response times. And there's only one other provider in the market that actually has documented response times as high as that. Now, we've branded our support recently, and it's rapid response. That's our support. The other thing I'll point out is that our support is not named caller support. It's not administrative support. It's end user support. That's really, really important because you're not asking your customers to go through a conduit, a layer to say, go to your help desk first and then you can get your issue resolved. We're actually saying to the end users, you can get right to the engineers, the certified individuals, and get your problem resolved immediately. You can pick up the phone, you can email, you can hit the portal, you can get an impactful conclusion immediately. The end users can. That's really important. A lot of other support organizations out there require you to go through your help desk. They have administrative support requirement first. That's really important. Be aware of that when you're selling, because you should ask that question when people say, yes, we have support. We are end user support. I will point that out every time to sellers. The next thing I will point out is make sure that people stand behind their support. And there's two ways I will point this out. The first is RapidScale stand behind their support by measuring it. We have an NPS, a Net Promoter Score of 80 plus. We measure it every month and we document that score. We stand behind it, we document it. NPS is client feedback on how we are doing. We measure ourselves. The next way that we measure is what is the contractual responsibility of your response times. Now, there is not a support program out there that will promise a resolution time. It just doesn't exist. The reason for that is because you don't know what you're going to get in the door from a support perspective. So realistically, nobody can promise resolution time. The only thing you will ever get is response time that's promised. Those are the core differentiators, but I will say that RapidScale by far is industry leading in our response times. They are very aggressive. We stand behind it, we measure it, and it's backed up in our contract. So Jason, yes, fantastic support and industry leading.
Well, so now that brings me up to a secondary kind of a follow-up question. As we peel the layer back on that, that's a pretty big claim that we come up with. And don't get me wrong, I boasted, I shouted from the mountaintop. You know, I'm the voice in the woods when it comes to our support. How are we able to stand behind that? How are we able to back that up with our service uptime and with our customer engagement? What gives us the ability to make claims as bold as the ones that we make?
Well, I think NPS is, on its own doesn't stand behind it, right? It just, NPS is a measurement and anybody could publish that on a website. So that doesn't stand behind it on its own. I think there's two things that back us up with credibility. The first is Tier 1 and Tier 2 support is RapidScale. The third thing that backs us up with a lot of credibility, and there's only a few partners out there that even do this, is Tier 3 is escalation up to Microsoft Premier Support. That's the first thing. We escalate up to Microsoft Premier Support. And then the second thing that backs us up with absolute credibility is the financially backed SLA, 99.9. That backs our service up with absolute credibility. We're not just throwing a service over the wall and saying, hey, this is our service, good luck. We're saying, hey, this is our service, and we stand behind our service. So I think those are the two main things that I would say back our service up with a strong level of credibility. Awesome.
Very great. Awesome. Good stuff. Okay, I have one last kind of formalized, this is pretty casual, just, a couple of guys like office trying to, have a conversation, but I have one last formalized question for you, and we can open it up to our guests, but, data security comes up a lot. It's on the top of everybody's mind. We see things in the news every single day about, this municipality or this company or this, hotel chain or whoever, my favorite hotel chain, whoever, running into trouble. I get questions about data retention. I get questions about, what are we doing to back up our customers' data? Could you highlight some of those concerns for me?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think backing up data is one of the biggest concerns, and we're seeing that security as a growth industry is growing in double digits year over year, has done for the last 5 years, is going to continue to grow in double digits for the next 10 years, according to sources like Forrester, Gartner. And so one of the additional pieces of value that we have bundled in is initial 12 months of free backup into Office 365. This is actually through our partner, Skykick. They've got a very comprehensive backup solution that backs up email. That's the solution that we bundle in. Again, this is kind of an intro package to kind of get clients' feet wet. They also have a comprehensive backup that backs up email, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, Office 365 groups, and that solution backs up everything beyond the 12-month period for email only. If they want email only, it's a couple of dollars. If they want the comprehensive backup, it's $3.50, which is actually very reasonable for a sort of DR scenario to back up everything. Office 365 backup, by comparison, will back up your email at $3. This is unlimited backup, and it backs up at 6 points during the day. So it's a pretty comprehensive solution that they've come up with. Now, beyond that, let's just touch on security a little bit more. Backup isn't the only security scenario in Office 365. You've got things like security inbound, and you've got so you've got information protection, and then you've got outbound security. So you want to ensure that potentially data doesn't leave the confines of Office 365. And Office 365 does a lot of this very well natively, or you've got third-party solutions that can be layered on, such as Mimecast. And RapidScale layers on some of those third-party tools very effectively as well. For security, my advice is talk to the RapidScale salesperson, bring in the solution engineer, because they are very complex and very individualized scenarios with security, in my experience.
Great. So to summarize here, and we'll open it up for questions, I just want to kind of just recap the journey we've taken. So new offering, Office 365, that encompasses everything an end user is going to need from beginning to end, from the very architecture of the plan all the way through to implementation and ongoing support. We're talking about migrating the data on their behalf, whether it be the free version, the bundled-in version, or a more hands-on, more active approach. We can do both. It's the customer's choice, their ability. Once they're there, world-class support and end-user adoption training, proficiency training, uptime guarantees, contractual support guarantees, and ongoing security monitoring and backing up of the data to make sure that their experience, which the partner experience manager is very interested in this piece. Trust me, is a one that neither our partners or us. It's an experience that we never have to apologize for. There's so much value built into this offering, and granted, I'm a little biased because I love where we work, but I don't see anything like this in the marketplace, and it makes it a very compelling story to bring to market. So thank you so much, Duncan, for being a part of this today. I love our conversations, whether they're recorded or not. You're just a riveting guy to talk to. And with that, let's open it up for questions. Summer, anybody have anything on their minds in internet land that we can address for them?
Yeah, in internet land. We do have one that just came in, and if you guys want to use the chat or Q&A panel to chat over any other questions you might have right now, feel free to do so. So how does the cost of RapidScale Office 365 compare with Microsoft? I know you touched on this in relation to backup and stuff, Duncan, but do you want to expand?
Yeah, so I'm happy to touch on this. I actually put Office 365 solutions into three buckets, and I know this market extensively. So what you're going to find is Office 365 is really put into the buckets of value-add resellers, and those are resellers like RapidScale, AppRiver, SureWeb, and the like. Resellers who bundle Office 365 with a high level of support, and in Navisite's in case they bundle business continuity, and AppRiver, they have I'm forgetting what they bundle right now, but anyway, they're value-add resellers. Then you've got low-value resellers who just bundle support, migration, and don't really sell much value with it. And then you've got Microsoft, and the price trajectory really goes like this. And you've got the value-add resellers are more expensive. They are, and they're going to be on average a couple of dollars more than Microsoft. But here's where the rubber meets the road. Microsoft, and it's important to understand this difference, Microsoft are not going to migrate your data. They're going to throw you over to an SI, a solution integrator. Microsoft's support out of the box is not going to be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 4 hours, 8 hours. Microsoft's support, and any of our salespeople can send you the comparison. I've given it to them all. Microsoft's support is 4 hours, 8 hours, or 8 hours next day, or no commitment in some cases. That's Microsoft's standard support. If you're not paying, and the reason Microsoft do this, and this is important for sellers to really understand this difference, the reason Microsoft do this is because they want to sting customers for that expensive Premier support, which, by the way, we also bundle in. So we have ways and mechanisms to save customers thousands of dollars on an expensive Microsoft Premier support agreement. So the short answer is yes, it costs a couple of dollars more, but it's such a false, it's an artificial economy from that perspective, because Microsoft are doing that because they want to upsell on Premier support, because their standard support is so inferior. And they don't bundle
cost
in
versus
all the other
value, right?
Yeah, it is cost versus value. It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Summer, anything else?
Yeah, so since we are a little bit over time, I'm just going to ask one more live, but I have written all the questions down, and we'll send out answers to all of them in the follow-up email as well.
Awesome.
This one I thought was good for clarification. So with RapidScale also offering Managed Microsoft Exchange, where is the line of demarcation between these two products? Are we seeing a transition in the market from Exchange to Office 365? I thought that was a good one to clarify.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I'll answer this. I'll try and answer it with some brevity. The short trend is that nobody expects Microsoft to put out a brick and mortar release beyond the next one. They basically said as much. The trend is that people are moving very much towards the cloud, a very fast pace, and most MSPs, RapidScale included, don't envision that past 3-4 years time that they will have an exchange offering. And the trend is, my previous MSP, same story. We're seeing it with all of our competitors, that their managed exchange offerings are end-of-lifing. It's just the trend. Everybody is going towards Office 365, and that is what it is. The offer is so compelling financially, the ability to layer on value, cost, fixed cost at that. It's just the compellingness of it is overwhelming any brick-and-mortar offering. You don't have to upgrade. You don't have to patch. All of that is making it so compelling.
Yeah, very good. Awesome. Well, I know that's our time. So, Duncan, as always, pleasure. Thank you so much. Summer, thank you for putting this together for us. Partner community, if you need anything else or if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're always available. I cover the Midwest, but I have just a world-class team that covers this nationwide. Anything we can do for you, we're happy to help. Office 365. It's the way of the future, and our bundle is better than anybody's. You heard it here first from our man Duncan McDonald, Jason Roberts, Summer. Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.